Howdy there, Airheads. Welcome back to Puttin On Airs. I'm Trae. Who's that?
Hello, good sir. It's Corey Ryan Forrester, Lord of the Manor. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, here we are in the manor doing it. So we got some fun stuff today. I'm going to talk about another area where I think the interest of the fancy and the trash overlap, which is taxidermy. That'll be fun. And you're going to do a little Professor Cho action on the subject of
Butlers.
everybody wants one. Not everybody can have one.
No,
or can they? Okay, well, you will inform us as to that a little later. But first, we're going to do some little catching up, I guess. So in the last episode, a couple things happened. First, we're talking about nights and shit.
Let's just officially call this the Puttin On Airs ketchup, and that way we can end up branding that
onto a bottle
of ketchup, which is a thing over there and here. Like that's
I know it's.
I'm just saying, like. I know
ketchup's a thing over there,
but it's
I'll be
no motherfucker. But it's also like a trash thing. Like over here, people are like, "Ooh,
ketchup on steak."
Ketchup is trash, but over there, like their fancy people use ketchup too, don't they?
Oh, I don't know.
I think they do, but over here, fancy people don't use ketchup.
Yeah, I mean they put beans on toast and shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like ketchup is like way more acceptable. I think ketchup is like way more.
It don't make you trash.
It don't make.
There?
I don't think so.
Okay,
that's all I meant. You piece of shit. Before you just they got ketchup over there.
Yeah, Putting On Airs ketchup. Here we go. We were talking about nights and shit, and after the fact, or in the interim, producer Russ has apparently found some clips that illustrate some of this action. I guess in the modern day, I haven't seen them. I'm going to see them for the first time. So.
Yeah, and we probably won't even play the audio on them. It's unnecessary probably to hear it. But yeah, so a couple of funny little clips that I found that just made me think of maybe some future pre-recorded segments for you guys.
Not expecting
since you guys
octagon.
might have another argument about squirrels or something. So this might be how we have to settle it.
This is my worlds colliding right here.
It's kind of like pro wrestling.
Kind of like pro wrestling, yeah.
Shit, yeah.
Let's get it, boy.
I mean, they're really swinging them.
Dude got him down. Ground and pound.
Gonna get him in full mount, but
ground and pound.
Running him through.
Oh, shit.
With a saber.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Holy shit. What the fuck, dude?
I was not expecting that. This ref, I don't know. I don't
know. Like, he's out, right? Like, he's out cold?
Yeah. I look at
Buddy,
I did not think this was a thing. I thought this was about to be some like that Dolly Parton type shit, like medieval 100%. Times.
I had no idea it was going to be that, for lack of a better word, metal. Yeah. Dude, it was metal as fuck, dude.
We got to go. I mean, I don't want me and you to fight like that, but like we got to go to one of them events. That looks fucking balling as shit, don't it?
Dude, yeah, like you said, I thought it was some like you said,
a show.
Dixie Stamp, a show where it's all they've got choreographed moves, and
especially
shit like
when
that. I was not expecting them to just brain that motherfucker with a buckler.
No, especially when I saw that they were in. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be some sort of like, what if these guys were professional wrestlers, therefore choreographed or whatever? But like, dude, that guy might have to be in the hospital.
Yeah,
like he just got the shit knocked out of him.
Also, presumably lost the favor of the maiden fair. I assume
those suits work though. Here's another one more event for
Russ.
You guys.
Is it okay that I can't hear you coming through here?
What's that?
I can't hear you in my monitor. I don't think.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I was just making sure.
Yep.
It's jousting. Oh shit! Damn!
Once again, dude. I did not realize these guys kept
so
it
hard.
As real as they do.
I didn't either.
I mean,
this isn't that pussy ass
dude
medieval
LARPing shit.
I'll tell you what we got to do on Patreon, Trae, is just like play all these without the audio, and me and you commentate it.
Yeah, as though we are doing Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah,
dude.
So, anyways, when the show's on, TLC or whatever, we'll have you guys do this.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like,
I'm glad you showed us that, because I did not. I knew that shit like that went on, but like I said, I thought it was some Renaissance fair, kind of bullshit. I didn't know they went that ham, dog.
Well, when I was researching for nights and stuff, I looked up videos of them doing, and all I could ever see was like the Renaissance fair stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool or whatever. But like, dude, I mean, again, like
producer Russ with that
I'm
real
not,
shit.
I hate to be this guy, but I'm not certain that what that one fella was doing with his shield to that man's head ought to be legal. Like that was pretty rough, dude. Like
yeah, man.
Yeah, like goddamn. I'm for it. I want to go to one of those though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, based on what you were saying about knights, that wasn't even legal back then, was it?
I mean,
like,
so
because knights were supposed to be like protected.
Knights,
or whatever.
so knights follow the chivalric code or whatever, and when knights did, if two knights both got knocked off their horse, which was rare, they could go to a ground and pound type battle situation. And then there would always be like a clear, like, look, I'm on top of you. I've got the high ground. It's over. And then kind of like in ancient Roman times, there would be like the crowd like, let him live or like kill him. And like, then there would be the whole thumbs. But the knight determined he could decide whether to fucking kill the dude or not. And it really just depended on, you know, who the knight was and probably his relationship to that dude and what type of mood he was in. But like chivalry states that like you should definitely let him go and it's fine. But I'd say that like, you know, if that feller's fair maiden had been caught fucking another, you know, mud bog wench or something that day, he'd probably slice that dude's throat out of rage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, goddamn, that was some shit.
Yeah, that was some shit.
All right. So, yes, Russ mentioned we got into a little tiff last time on the subject of squirrels and how romantic they are or whatever the fuck we was talking about, you know. And we just want to let people know that'll happen from time to time.
It is kind of our personality.
Yeah. We the only time we ever fight is about the most
dumbest shit,
ridiculous shit
we fought
imaginable.
To my knowledge, we fought about 3 things, and it was corn nuts, dinosaurs, and now squirrels.
No, you missed one. One of the dumber ones, in my opinion. The first fight we ever had in our friendship.
I thought the first fight we ever had in our friendship was corn nuts.
The first fight we ever had in our friendship was over, and again, I've since admitted I was very wrong. I was wrong the whole time. It was over which one of us would be better to eat.
Oh, yeah, Russ.
We don't have to do this. It's you.
Okay, right.
It's you. I don't know what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah, I know.
Just couldn't let you have it. I don't know. I didn't.
You were still trash then. Like you were still way trash, and you didn't understand marbling.
I guess
I was gonna say, I feel like
like all you'd ever had in your whole life was sirloin.
Yeah. Well, also, you've been marinating yourself for a long time and everything.
Pickling myself, all that
real
brine.
Less cholesterol though. In Trae,
so for sure.
Just gotta marinate him.
Yeah,
really good.
You can make me hit to eat,
of course,
but like you would just be.
But you'd be like brisket.
You'd be like wagyu or however they say.
Yeah, wagyu or whatever.
Wagyu. Well, who fuck knows?
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, anyways, I have something to say about the disagreement.
Please.
Everybody got something to say about squirrels?
Yeah. So I'm kind of a novice at this producing podcasts. I hope the fans think that
they
do
love
a pretty
you,
good
producer
job
Russ,
on this so far. But I was like wondering what do I do here? Because I really felt I saw
you don't know us that well.
I don't know you that well, but
yeah.
I do have good friends that I've been friends with for my whole life. That obviously we argue about dumb shit as well. But I'm like, what is my role here?
Yeah.
Because really, the one thing I was concerned about is Corey was getting very animated and bumping the set. That just took us so long to get right. So that's one thing that I was worried about. But I thought about it when I left, and I was like, this is their show. Technically, if you smash the set or a light or cameras, you're just going to have to buy new ones.
Right.
And it is what it is. Also, people enjoy that kind of thing too. And maybe they have their own ideas about squirrels and their ability to love and all that. And so
I'm sure they fired off.
That's a viral video. So I decided I'm never going to stop you from an argument like that again. We're going to just let it happen. And if the episode's 2 hours yelling about squirrels, then that's what it is. Anyways, learned a little something, took a decision in an artistic direction.
It's so funny to think about, like, because I'm just so used to, like, everybody we deal with knowing exactly who we are, but, like, and we've gotten to know Russ, but, like, it's so funny that, like, me and you sitting here screaming about squirrels, he's like, oh, shit.
I bet have you done that a lot as a comedian? I find myself in that, not so much since the pandemic.
You don't
started,
understand that people don't know you.
Yes.
The way that
I feel like that happens to me all the time. I'll say something that it would totally hit to us or in a green room or whatever, but in front of like total civilians, normies. Friends of Katie's or something like that, and they're like horrified. And I'm not talking about racist shit or whatever, just something that's like
dark,
something that's real dark or whatever. And it oftentimes don't hit for regular people.
No, it very much doesn't. And like I'm so conditioned to like I only hang out with comedians,
right?
That like once you like it's like Brooks from fucking Shawshank going back out into the world, just like the damn world got themselves into such a big hurry. But with us, it's just like nobody wants to talk about
suicide.
But I will say one thing though, just one caveat. So I'll never break up any fight again, but I think the energy got a little sucked out for the last segment.
Because how can you follow that?
Because I could tell you were both still pissed off. So we'll just have to have you guys have, it's not short memories and just like a squirrel. Jump back on it. Take a break or something. So
I wasn't so much pissed off as I was concerned about my friend Trae, who, just doesn't. Like, I don't know. I just get worried about him.
Believe that squirrels write poetry and shit or whatever you were saying? Yeah, no, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
They don't recognize themselves in a fucking mirror. You think they're having funerals and shit? Okay, listen, we're not. Okay. We're not doing it right now anyway. There was another element of sort of housekeeping that we had talked on a previous episode about how British comedians were allowed to be fancy and, in fact, encouraged to be fancy and intellectual, And I had this quote from famed British comedian David Mitchell, which I thought really illustrated that. And it came off the cuff, too. But it's just the type of thing I feel like you could never imagine an American comedian saying in this way. So we're on this British panel show called Would I Lie to You, where it's like you make a statement.
Bob Mortimer?
He's on there, too. But they have a bunch of different comedians. You make a statement. The other team tries to determine if you're lying or not by asking you questions.
Yeah.
And it's like I was once trapped in a fucking racetrack garbage bin for 2 hours or something like that until a small person rescued me or so, whatever.
Yeah.
And because they're all whimsical over there, sometimes that shit's true. Right. But
that'd be true for me too.
Right, that's how it works. Yeah, you would crush at this show. Anyway, but that's how it works. David Mitchell was telling some long, kind of drawn out story, and another comic on the other side goes, "All right, mate, get to the point, right?" And Mitchell just loses his shit, and he goes, "Get to the point is not an admonishment one can properly make in the midst of a parlor game."
God.
He's like, there is no point. This is an inherently pointless affair. We are whiling away our finite time before the grave.
By the way, you say that's off the cuff, and I believe that it was in that moment. I bet you that he's had to do that before.
Yeah,
I bet you a lot of people have said to David Mitchell, "Get to the point, mate," and he just had that fucking teed up.
Yeah.
But that is just absolute poetry.
I know, right?
That is beautiful.
Fucking poetry emotion.
Also, he's right.
He is right. He's 100% right. But I'm just saying, like, on an American comedian game show or
that would
whatever,
never happen.
You ain't ever hearing no lines like that.
No, we just go, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, make a joke about their mama or some shit.
Right,
like that.
exactly.
And again, it would hit. It would smash.
Of course it would.
We do hit.
Of course, we hit real hard.
But they just have this whole different dynamic going on. And we already talked about it, but yeah, I meant to share that quote and I didn't because I think about it a lot. So the brief little intro topic I wanted to ask you about is, so, we both love butter things.
More than almost anything.
Things made with butter.
Yeah.
Things which butter makes hip.
Honestly, I'm not kidding. Just butter. So I really hope that you do this because otherwise it's just about to make me look real stupid. And I'm not just like passing through the kitchen and think, I'm going to get me a slice of butter. Like, I don't think that. But like when I'm cooking, and like, because I often use different butters. Like when I go to the fresh market or whatever, and I see that there's a new Danish butter they've got, I'm like, oh, I'll try this one. Like I use good butters to cook with and stuff like that. And whenever I'm putting some in there, I always peel myself off a little sliver and just kind of eat it like a fucking cow starburst. You know what I mean? Just to see, just to taste it, to see what I'm working with. And like every time I do, I'm just like, I could fucking eat this whole stick, man. Like just by itself. Like, are you that way?
No, but
man.
that was it for me. Matter of fact, I remember
a tiny sliver, by the way, like a ribbon,
Hey, I ain't hating.
Right.
I ain't hating.
I gotta know what it tastes like.
No, yeah, it would taste like butter that hits. But yeah. Yes, like you said, you just treating yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I used to eat butter sandwiches as a kid.
Not on toast.
It was
somewhat toasted, but it was mostly just large pats of unmelted butter in between two pieces of bread.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how that hits.
It does hit. I mean, it's like a roll, you know.
So the reason I asked is because, like, you know, we shit on the French every now and then or whatever, but like...
Rite of passage.
In terms of butter and making it hit and cuisine in general, every head must bow, every tongue must profess, the French...
They got it.
Invented all that shit.
Yeah.
They're the ones who make it hit the most in terms of cuisine, right? They fucking drown everything in butter and fucking duck butt and all that shit they do, right? And it smashes.
Right.
But they ain't big old fat fucks like we are.
Not at all.
They're all
opposite.
fucking little, they're all built like Mark Maron, wearing a mime shirt.
I was about to say they're all built like mimes.
Yeah, wearing a mime shirt, smoking cigarettes and shit. You know, fuck you. You are the pigs.
Yes, you are the pigs, the Americans.
Yeah. And you know, that's not just an observation we're making here. That's a recognized thing with a name. That's called the French paradox. Like the rest of the world has asked the same question. How are they not big fat fucks over there? And nobody really knows.
I mean, is it because they also, like, I mean, I'm sure.
Ride bikes everywhere or whatever the fuck.
They ride.
That's the Dutch, I guess.
Well, they walk. I'm sure that I just always assume in European countries, everybody's walking everywhere because, like, and I always
fuck a lot.
They do fuck a lot. They smoke a lot of cigarettes. That helps. Then maybe, and obviously, like, they don't eat the portion sizes that we eat, right?
I don't know. Every time they leave the grocery store, there's at least 3 baguettes sticking out the top of the bag. Everybody knows that.
No, that's actually true. I don't know, man. Like that is bizarre because
again, it's like a recognized thing that doesn't have an answer. It was theorized for a while that it was something to do with red wine. There's something in red wine that can help combat the effects of fatry, but that's been disproven.
I was about to say, because like if that, so you're telling me that if I just started,
it's like, it's all the wine they drink that makes them not fat. It's like that ain't.
Trust me, in my experience, that's not it at all.
No, wine will blow you smooth up. That's what I'm saying. Just wine, butter, cheese, and baguettes.
Because like, but they all isn't it them that came up with like the puff pastry?
Yes.
Okay. Will you? Because it always blows my mind. But will you walk me through the puff pastry shit? Because like it's way more insane than people think, right?
So you make a sort of standard pastry dough and lay it out in a sheet. Then you also take a cold slab of butter and you hit it with a hammer and make it flat and rectangular.
Yeah.
And you put that in the middle of the pastry sheet. Fold the rest of the pastry over it and seal it up. So it's like you got a little butter envelope, a butter dough envelope, which hits, obviously. And then you roll that out until it's like flat and thin, and then you flip it over onto itself a couple times. So now you have dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter, dough.
Yeah.
You know, because you fold it over itself like that. Then you roll it out again, and you do that again, and you keep doing that over and over, resting it in the fridge for almost an hour at a time, multiple times. So it takes hours to do this the right way. But by the time you've done that and made enough layers, it's supposed to be like, you know, dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, all the way down through, which is why it's like flaky and airy.
Right, like how many layers? Because it's like a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, like a shitload.
Yeah, like it's one of them things where they're like
the actual number, but like because it's exponential every time.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, it's one of them things where they're like, if you fold it like 2 or 3 more times, it could like go to the moon, or some shit, like whatever that shit is. You remember hearing that?
Yes, it's something to do with like.
How does that make sense?
Dude, numbers are just wild that way.
No, they are.
I don't have it. The numbers are wild. I mean, I'm number dumb, but numbers are fucking wild. Like. I don't have it in front of me right now, but let's bookmark that. I don't know how fancy it is, but actually I would like to talk about some of that. Like I need to look it up.
Look,
there's some
if you're asking me, I think math is one of the fanciest things in the world.
Sure, yeah. All these fucking snobby ass fucking fact knowers and stuff are be fucking with math.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, let's bookmark that. And
also they got different math over there.
There's some real wild examples of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That I can't just come off the dome with, but I want to look them up and share them because they're fucking insane. Well, so we'll circle back to that.
My
numbers is some shit, buddy.
They are. Mine is when I'm looking at pizzas.
Yes.
On like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Not
like
yet.
Like you'll be. like you'll be looking at a menu and it's like 12-inch, $14, 20-inch, $22, and then it'll kind of be like that, and then they'll get up to like this behemoth 64-inch, and all of a sudden it's like $85 or some shit like that, and they're like, we don't understand like the way that the inches on the pizza work, like it's going like this, but then it's like going like this, and so therefore the 4 inches over here changes the price like this, but once you get up here, it's like exponential pizza growth or something like that, and that's why this pizza is like $85, and that pizza right there, which seems like it would not be that much smaller than this pizza, is actually like $25. You never just looked at pizza's prices and just been like, what the fuck is going on here?
Son, yo brain. I'm telling you.
It don't work.
Like had you gone to college, this would have been your senior thesis right here. You're like, on the exponential properties of pizza prices. Yeah.
I feel like they just think that we're not going to say nothing.
But I think I know what you're saying is like, the number is only a couple inches when you talk about diameter. But
yes.
The area of pizza that is expanded by adding those couple inches of diameter is larger than that. It's a lot, which makes it more toppings to cover it, whatever, which makes it more expensive.
Yeah, and when you're someone...
Although you said 64-inch pizza, well, I'm trying to fuck with that. Where do you get this at?
For the record, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that that's true.
You don't know? You ain't good with inches?
No, no, that might have been the price. I don't know. I just know that like almost every time I go to a pizza place, I end up just going like, man, I mean, I ain't gonna say nothing, but that just seems wrong. But like they're all doing it. But like, I don't know if they're all just doing it because they just have like some secret handshake. They're like, look, we can just charge way more for that. And people like Corey will just go, I guess it's the fucking transitive property of like cheese times this surface area, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I just don't understand pizza math. You know what I mean?
Most mathematicians look at the distances betwixt the stars.
Right.
And wonder... How can one make sense of that?
Mine's pepperoni.
Yours, exactly.
I want to talk to y'all about our friends over at Blue Chew. It's time to dig yourself out of that winter hibernation. Spring is here, and it's time to get sprung, baby, with Blue Chew. Talking about your winter. This episode right here is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, get the confidence that you need to take you far in life. It can also help in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes time to step up to the plate and knock one out of the winter park. That's where Blue Chew comes in. Tell them about it, Trae Lane.
That's right. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead for your business time, or you can just be ready whenever an opportunity arises, if you know what I mean. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, get approved, and then you'll receive your prescription within days. That's the best part. It's all done on that there internet there. You ain't got to go to the doctor's office. You ain't got to have any awkward conversations. You ain't got to wait in line at the pharmacy. The Blue Chew will send their tablets, which are made right here in the US of A, and they will prepare and ship them directly to your door in a discreet package. It all hits.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're getting back out there and more things are opening up, but there's certain things that I'm glad still can be done online, and Blue Chew is definitely one of them. When my package comes every month, my wife is the happiest that she can be. There's no going back from this. I'm going to be a Blue Chew customer for the rest of my life, whether I like it or not, because the missus is a huge fan of it. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use our promo code POA at checkout. All you got to do is pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code POA to receive your first month for free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Oh, all right. So listen, my subject today is taxidermy, which...
I don't pay mine.
We agree that's an area where fancy people and rednecks overlap, right?
For sure.
Taxidermy, our papaws have stuffed bobcats and stuff. Theirs got stuffed extinct types of panthers.
Mammoth, yeah.
Yeah, shit like that. But first, before we get into that, because since we were arguing about the romantic properties of squirrels, I didn't get to all of the things I wanted to say about hunting, and I don't have that much more, but I want to read you this quote, because we didn't even really get into big game hunting you know, with like that shit that Teddy Roosevelt did or whatever. Like that's all. We talked about rich people fox hunting.
Yeah.
But like obviously big game hunting is a huge thing.
That was Teddy Roosevelt's whole deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Well, it's still the whole, you know, every like Donald Trump Jr. or whoever, every few months, somebody like that will have a picture come out on the internet with them holding an elephant's tail and smiling, and people flip out about it.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like Teddy Roosevelt was doing it the right way.
He was just doing it at a time when nobody was yet giving a fuck.
Well,
it.
I guess my point is like he is a man.
Yes.
So I feel like he was like not
having somebody
just
raise a lion in a fucking field from birth just to be shot by this guy when they tell him to pull the trigger because they baited the lion to stand right in front of him or whatever.
Yes. From everything I've read
100%.
about Teddy Roosevelt, that part wouldn't hit for him at all. Like the actual chase would be the part that hit for him.
So, all right, I just want to read you a couple funny and also fucked up quotes from some modern day big game hunters. There's this guy, it's a big guide, a South African big game hunting guide named Ron Thompson. And this article I read, it opens with the line, "The most elephants that Ron Thompson has ever killed by himself in one go is 32.
Oh, man.
It took him about 15 minutes. Okay.
What kind of goddamn gun was he using?
Yeah, I know. An elephant gun, I assume.
Right.
You know, them big ass shotguns,
right,
or whatever the fuck they are. I'm gun dumb too, but and then at the end of the article, it says it explains that situation. In 1971, Thompson and 2 other hunters were called on to cut in half, the elephant population in a national park in Zimbabwe, killing 2,500 animals using semi-automatic rifles. And a quote from the guy, "The 3 of us were able to kill between 30 and 50 elephants stone dead with brain shots in less than 60 seconds.
What a sentence to say.
In some cases, we were almost touching the elephants when we pulled the triggers. We did the job that had to be done without any emotion and without any blood loss, and we did it exceptionally well."
I think the without emotion part, like,
yeah, their dicks were hard.
Yeah, I was going to say when you say that we were almost touching them, but we're able to kill them with stone brain dead shots. Like we don't think that you had any emotion
right into their dumb gray eyes.
Yeah, the only
went out of it.
Like coming is an emotion, I guess. Yes. But like, what's the point? Like when they say like they were called upon, was that there were just way too many elephants?
This was right. So this was again 40 years ago or whatever, and it was in a place where it's like, we want to do something about all these elephants.
Goddamn elephants.
There's goddamn elephants. This place is lousy with elephants.
Right.
It's funny if you read this whole article too, that like still to this day, some of them make the argument like, people don't understand how problematic elephants can be, okay? They step on plants.
They don't forget nothing.
Right.
God damn.
God forbid a mouse.
Go.
God forbid a mouse shows up. They'll freak out and parade over everything.
Right.
You know, whatever. But they're like trying to justify it by bitching about the harm that elephants cause, so you gotta murder them from a helicopter or whatever.
How'd the population get so out of control, though?
See, I think that's before we started really hitting at killing all the animals on Earth. I guess that's part of it. But like, so I want to say, because we did mention talking about hunting, we're talking about how there's a little more nuance to it than a lot of people recognize with like our buddies shooting deer and shit, and it's like, listen, there's something to that or whatever. There's arguments to be made.
Yeah, because they're not just going through like, I killed 2,500 deer and we just left them laying.
So I don't know near enough.
Cute.
I don't know near enough about big game hunting to take a stance on it, but what people...
That will never stop us from talking about it or inevitably taking a stance on it.
I don't want people to think that what I'm about to say is my own opinion, because I don't even really have an opinion. But what people on the other side of the argument say is... you pay a rich person pays a shitload of money to go out there and kill some fucking lion or elephant or whatever. And it's in these like parks or wildlife reserves. And what they do is it's an old ass lion that's going to die soon anyway. Yeah. Not all the time, but that's the idea. That's going to die soon anyway. They identify it. You're allowed to shoot this lion who's going to die soon anyway. You give us $30,000. That $30,000 is then put towards conservation efforts in this wildlife preserve.
Right.
So it's like, that's the money that goes into the upkeep of these wildlife preserves. Right. And it's killing animals that were going to die anyway, so they like justify it that way. So people say it's like, it's not as evil as it fucking looks. But then other people are like, y'all murder poachers for doing the same thing, but the argument is they don't do the same thing. They just kill these animals willy-nilly, just fucking,
steal their tusk and yada, yada, yada.
For dick purposes. Yeah, so I mean, that ain't the same. And again, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I hear you, and I also always have these conflicting like thoughts when it's like when it comes to like the ultra wealthy and this isn't because like, oh, one day I aspire to be one of these people and therefore I'm just kind of backtracking on everything.
Yeah, we're like, listen, when we shoot a tiger one day,
yeah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
But no, it's just like when people go like, like a rich fucking person throws like an insanely lavish party or something like that, and you hear the number, or like an insanely lavish wedding, and you hear all the money that was spent on this wedding, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like they could have taken that same amount of money and cured this or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I hear you on that. However, it's not like they did just piss that money down the toilet. Like the catering people got paid, right, the DJ got paid. Like all these people, like they had a kind of a mini economy in there.
Yeah,
so
stimulating the local DJ
So
economy,
honestly,
man.
I actually like it when they do that more than when they just sit on all their wealth and don't spend it on shit and just like, what's the word?
Yeah, but the thing is, they turn around and
I
spend
know
$3 million on some dinosaur bones.
No, I know.
It's like, sure, the dinosaur bone man, he's got food to eat for the next month. But like,
no, that of course there's that. But I'm just saying there are situations where
like
you go,
all them boats and all them yachts and shit we're talking about. They've got crews. Those crews have family. They get
right, exactly. Right. Like so, I mean, like I'm all for them spending their money and putting it out into the like. Yeah, again, like they have a lavish party and some fucking catering company gets to make their nut for the whole year. Like, hell yeah, take that shit from them. But like, hey, yeah, I mean, I guess if but it's just so funny to be like, then the money goes back into conserving, which is like the opposite of what they were doing. So like, I don't know.
Well, again, the argument is, yeah, the rich people don't give a fuck about conserving, but they're using the money for conservation, and the animal that gets murdered to death is one that was on its way out anyway.
Right,
whatever.
and the Zimbabwe tour guide got paid.
Yeah, right. So,
I don't know. Yeah.
But so on that, and then what happens? You kill an animal. A lot of times you want to stuff it, right? Taxidermy. That's what we're talking about. Comes from the Greek taxis, which means something, and dermis, which means skin. So
right.
I think it's art, actually. So skin art, art of the skin.
That's like tattoos.
Yeah, and it goes back to ancient Egypt. They had to put all them cats and them slaves with the pharaohs and stuff, or it wouldn't hit for the dead pharaohs if they didn't.
Right.
Right. So taxidermy kind of has its roots, as most things, I guess, in ancient Egypt. It really picked up steam in the Victorian era. Actually, before that, so people don't know, rednecks fucking super into this shit. They love killing something and then putting his head on a wall.
Mm-hmm.
That hits for them.
Yeah, and it does hit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
I love walking into a buddy's house and he's got a new deer head on his
bunch of
wall.
Heads on the wall.
Yeah, I love that.
You don't think that those deer had the capacity to? I'm sorry, we ain't going. Listen, they do hit their.
Yes, I do, but also they fed my friends.
Yes.
I've shot squirrel and ate it before, for the record.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay,
it's just that these other ones died in. We're not gonna.
Yeah.
When they get hit by a car, it's different. If their soul is at rest if they provided food.
Right. But so what our people do is they fucking, make a bass look like it's jumping and pin it to their wall.
Yeah.
Or take a deer's head or whatever. But they're super into that shit, right? But fancy people do it too, and this is what they do, or at least what they did. You see this picture here.
Oh, see, I would have thought that was us.
Now, this is...
Because it's funny.
This is like Victorian era shit. Taxidermy got really big in Victorian England.
For the record, that's rad.
And they anthropomorphized most of them.
For those that are just listening,
it's a bunny rabbit with a gun.
Yeah, it's a bunny rabbit with a gun, and
like
he's got
a Sherlock hat.
Yeah, I was about to say, he looks like a detective.
There's a precious little kitten playing...
so they're making like dioramas with him and stuff?
Oh my God.
Croquet.
Thank you. Croquet. Yeah, I was too trash to know, but yes, croquet. This dude that made that one, and you can show up some more, Russ. Yeah, there you go. He's got these kittens having a tea party. Look at how many dead kittens.
I know.
So,
dude, have you seen the movie Dinner for Schmucks?
Yeah.
I love that movie. And that's obviously what Steve Carell's character does.
This is wild to me that anyone gave a shit, but apparently, even at the time in Victorian England, some people were looking at that, and some people were like, "Oh, how whimsical and fantastic!" I feel like,
and it does look like a Wes Anderson movie.
Hit for Wes Anderson. That's what I was about to say. You beat me to it. Yeah.
Well, that looks like Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Look at that. All right.
He was saying some stuff. I was saying some stuff. Yeah. I mean, this is awesome.
I know, but so even people,
but like this doesn't seem like some fancy people shit. This seems like if Paige started a Etsy.
Well, it was some fancy people shit though. It was all the people with their little fucking transparent umbrellas and shit. You know, all them Victorians with their top hats and stuff.
I feel like these squirrels lived out their purpose.
Yes,
you know?
they did.
So what I was going to say is like, well, hold on now. Don't get into these yet. Hold on. I feel like these squirrels people back then, believe it or not, some people back then were like, yeah, this is real cute and whimsical and stuff, but like, that's a lot of dead kittens. You know, like these are dead animals, dog.
Right. And did they wait till the kittens died?
So yes, that dude who all that art was from, he was like the main dead kitten man back in the day, right?
Yeah.
He was the fucking...
You need a dead kitten, that's who you fucking call.
Yeah. Well, he had his own dead kitten man. He sourced the dead kittens from local farms and stuff.
Yeah. Everybody getting paid.
I don't know if people know this, but on farms back then, and probably a lot of farms still today...
Lousy with cats.
Lousy with dead kittens.
Yeah,
because
sure
you got a whole bag of kittens...
Yeah.
That don't hit.
No, it doesn't.
So what they
Although,
do
like,
is
they leave a lot of them around, they eat the rats.
Yes, but dude, kittens or cats multiply. Like, I'm not defending this practice.
No,
this was
like,
before neutering and shit.
No,
and I'm just saying the reality of it is, fucking your barn cat had a bunch of kittens. You put it in a sack and wait till it stops moving.
Yeah.
If you don't throw it off a bridge. But you wouldn't throw it off a bridge if you were going to give it to the fucking dead kitten man to make some art with it, right? So then you just let them suffocate or whatever. Anyway, that, like... He wasn't killing none. He was like, listen, these farmers are going to kill these cats either way.
Yeah.
And now I get them and I make art with them. So he wasn't murdering these little furry creatures, but he had people who would sell him animal corpses, which, a quick aside, our buddy, comedian Travis Irvine, and the writer-director of Killer Raccoons and Killer Raccoons 2.
Yeah, which we were in.
It
was the #1 comedy in America for like 2 hours.
Yeah, during the pandemic because nothing else was out, but it still hits. Anyway. Yeah. He had a dead raccoon man. Remember?
He did.
It was the same thing.
He did have.
He had like an old boy was like, you need some dead raccoons.
I got you. I'll get you dead raccoon by 3 o'clock,
right.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that industry's still alive and well, I guess. But even back then, people were like, it's not cool for you to kill these kittens and put a golf club in their hand. But if the kitten already died, then by all means, put a golf club in its hand. You know?
Right.
You know, I mean,
if they're already dead, like that's fine.
Right. So. Yeah, it was a huge thing for a while. It still remains big, and a lot of now fancy people. Again, it's mostly limited to like stuffing the lion who you murdered on your fucking
excursion,
or the bear or whatever, that type of thing. They ain't really posing them at fucking poker tables anymore for the most part. But of course, people have problems with any of this practice nowadays. Right. It's very controversial, I guess. And so, what some artists have started doing is making like faux taxidermy, which is like this one dude in where you think Portland, naturally, hipsters have started making
faux means fake, by the way.
Faux
everybody.
Taxidermy, people making like fake deer heads with like fucking plaid skin and shit. They're kind of cool looking, but listen to this quote I found from a Portland artist. A dead giraffe presiding over the mantle is deeply upsetting. But a giant brass giraffe sculpture crafted by Sergio Bustamante is nirvana.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sergio Bustamante, the foremost giraffe man.
Yeah, brass giraffe man in the whole game.
Absolutely.
Yes, very respected in the brass giraffe field. Yeah, shit like that. Thank you, Russ.
I mean, for the record,
dude, that's cool.
That is cool.
It is cool.
Need one of these for the studio.
Yes, we do.
One of those. Or I'll put a real deer heads up. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, for sure.
I'll stuff a squirrel, put it up there. They don't fail. But but so
definitely need a squirrel.
Couple other things.
Our buddy has a deer that he doesn't do a Christmas tree. He just puts a Santa hat and garland on the deer, and then they put all the presents underneath the deer.
Can you say?
Paul, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Paul.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Got his own vodka company. That checks
out.
Christmas deer.
Yeah.
Got to trim the Christmas deer.
Yeah, exactly.
He's in Florida.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, couple of things. Number one, apparently, you never believe this. This shit's real hard to do. You don't just
the fake stuff.
You don't. No. You don't just take a fucking badger and scrape all its innards out and stuff a bunch of newspaper up there and sew it back together. Apparently, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Chickamauga has the one guy that he does all the taxidermy for like everybody in the surrounding areas, and like I've never really talked to him about it, but like he has people come from fucking everywhere because apparently it's so hard that
it's a very niche.
That's what I'm saying. Like it clearly,
a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah, it's clearly hard. Otherwise, fucking Mr. Bowers wouldn't be the only motherfucker in like 3 states that people come to.
So before we get to some pretty comical examples of the amateur efforts at doing this, the very pronounced learning curve involved, and buddy, they are something else. But before we get to those, on the note of it being really difficult, it's a damn good thing it was really difficult because you know how to pass, B.
It sucked.
And they try real hard to taxidermy people. And yeah, right. Of course they did. You know they trying to stuff some pygmies and put it in a fucking smoking room or whatever. Like that's what they were all about back then.
I was actually reading a David Sedaris book not long ago, and he was talking about this shop that he goes to in England, and they've got like old pygmy skeletons that you can buy and stuff like that, and like how big of a deal that was. So like absolutely they would have loved it if they could have had the entire pygmy.
But apparently even the best
is that racist?
Even to say pygmy?
Yeah. Is that like gypsy?
I don't know. I hope not.
I hope not too. I'm sure it
is, but we don't mean it.
No, just tell us and we'll
God
stop.
Bless the little pygmies.
Yeah.
But but apparently the problem was, and again, this is one of those things that's like, thank God this ain't work out. Because just imagine the horrifically racist dioramas that would exist from actual fucking corpses if they've been able to figure it out. But apparently it has to do with our skin. Something about our skin is almost impossible to recreate in a taxidermic fashion to where it actually keeps up and looks like skin and doesn't just look like fucking garbage. Right. So for a while they were doing
because the second we die, we start kind of not looking like human. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like pretty quick.
Right. They started for a while, they were just taking the skulls of pygmies. Yeah. And putting like clay over it and fucking making them smile and hold a fucking spear fiddle, or whatever the fuck they were doing, spear and a fiddle both. But I guess that just wasn't really hitting for people because
it's not authentic.
This ain't authentic. So that didn't really fly. And so that never took off. And again, I cannot stress enough, that is
good.
Very good.
It's a good thing.
It's one of the few things about the past that ended up working out in a way that avoided abject horror.
Right. Because you know that I would have got drunk and tried to stuff my mama and keep her.
Not for lack of trying. Now, see, this is like, Russ has pulled up, that's some like shrunken head type shit.
Yes, and that's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
How do they shrink the heads?
They had like head shrinking juice.
Oh, right.
Yeah. They just soaked it in head shrinking juice for a while.
Okay. What was I thinking?
I have no idea. Obviously. Clearly, I don't. It was some fucking, shaman shit.
Right.
Shaman out there. On a shaman note, I was watching like Apocalypto or something recently, and I was thinking about war paint. And like war paint is so fucking super rad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, everything like back there, like shaman were all like spirit. It's funny to me to think that he's like, in shaman language, he was like, and this sacred herb, when crushed up and mixed with some water and the blood of this warthog, looks metal as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole thing. It's like it doesn't fucking
mean anything. It just looks like it hits.
It doesn't drive the ghost out of your blood.
No, it just looks rad.
It just looks fucking metal as fuck, dog. And they were like, I want that shit.
When we were in high school, I had a buddy who used to rob a bunch of pharmacies and give us, and he would sell the pills to make a lot of money and buy motorcycles and stuff. But like I was his boy, so he'd just give me the pills. There's worse friends to have.
Fucking Trailer Park Robin Hood.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so I remember we'd go to the bathroom like my junior year, and he would have morphine tablet. By the way, kids, do not do this. This is a dark time in my past. But he would have like morphine pills, and his whole thing was like, "Hey, buddy, you got to lick the time release off. That way it starts hitting immediately." And I was like, "Okay." And so we'd lick the time release off and rub it in a napkin or whatever, and the time release on it was like pink. And this motherfucker, I remember one day we sitting there licking the fucking morphine time release off, and he got it, and he just fucking started like putting it on his face like this, and he just just goes back to class like that. And of course, our math teacher, Coach Guy, and he's fucked up because he'd been snorting morphine
pills.
And he comes in there and he just tries to sit down like nothing happened. And Coach Gallion, I remember, just goes, Joshua, what is that on your face? And he stood up, flipped his desk over, and goes, "It's my goddamn war paint, Coach! Woo!"
Fucking Hercules.
Yeah, and
goddamn.
he didn't even get kicked out of class because Coach Gallion was so fucking scared. He was just like, "Okay, I guess it is," and like that's just that. So yeah, I know about war paint, and it was just that it looked rad, you know, in that situation.
That is some heavy duty trash.
Yeah,
shit right there.
You won't believe this,
is.
but he is no longer with us.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
You'll have that.
You will have that.
So just a couple facts about shrinking heads. Apparently, the actual head shrinking doesn't take that long. A couple hours of boiling. But the ritual takes 6 days.
They boil it so afterwards you can have cream of head soup.
Probably, yeah.
It's pretty
my God.
labor intensive too. You know, the skin and hair has to be separated.
Did they
Well,
just
you know, they put a pirate in a pot. Stoke a fire underneath them.
Did they, like, when they shrunk the heads, was that like for like a religious thing, or were they just like, this would hit? This would be a good ornament.
I don't know. I mean, surely, probably, at least the first thing, but probably it was both.
Right. They probably.
This also is metal as fuck.
I'm sure that there was some real dumb thought behind it.
Yeah, right.
And probably still is.
Yeah. Okay, so before we move into your segment, or producer Russ got something for us.
One more thing. I found a taxidermy artist named Kate Clark.
I don't think this ain't it.
And she does some real creepy stuff here.
Yeah, they should have never let women get into
For people
taxidermy.
that are watching it, Papa always said that. That's like Michael Jordan's zebra or something. What she has done is she's put human faces onto animal bodies because that's what everybody was clamoring for.
Right.
This is like, have you ever seen a
These
movie
are my
Annihilation?
Yeah, with
Remember that bear in it? That
Yes.
fucking, shit is wild.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
That movie fucking rules.
I love that movie.
I love, what's that dude? Who the dude?
Alex Garland.
I love him.
He made Ex
Machina,
and he wrote 28 Days Later, and he made the show Devs. He hits real hard.
Yeah, dude, that movie, dude, fucking Annihilation is some shit, boy.
Wild shit, dog. So this is, thank you, Russ, for getting that the fuck off there. That was some wild shit. Sort of on that note, but not really. We're talking about how, and then after this, we'll get into Professor Cho, but we're talking about how difficult it is to taxidermy, and you don't have to take it from me. Look at some of these examples of poorly executed efforts we've got here. These are all, to my knowledge, real and from people doing their best. So, yeah, look at that.
Oh, my Lord. Is that a fox?
I believe it was a fox.
That looks like, you remember when there was that painting of Jesus that woman tried to restore?
There will be one in here that's even more like what you're talking about. It looks almost like.
Oh, my God.
I don't even know what that is. That's like
seal?
a mud skipper or something.
Yeah.
Except it can't be. I don't know. Look how sad.
It's almost like a catfish head.
Imagine knowing that was your,
that's what happened.
Corpse's fate.
Yeah, exactly.
That thing lived a whole.
Oh my God, that's the one.
That one on the left. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
It almost looks like it was the same artist
that did the Jesus thing.
Restoration. Yeah.
Now I'll be honest with you, that like what they've done with that seal there, like that's more like that's a Tim Burton-y type thing that looks like it's on purpose. Like, hey, we're gonna make this look terrifying. It kind of looks like one of the in the Tomorrow War or whatever. It looks like how them the white spikes looks like what the white spikes look like in the face.
Okay, so the artist who made the
we're getting a little loose here.
Who made the thing on the left? Why the tongue? Like, were they married to the tongue to begin with? Do you think they got into a point where they were like, "Oh, this ain't really hitting. I bet a tongue will set it off." Because it just really adds to the comical lunacy of the whole piece.
I was about to say, I genuinely think, like, with making the tongue crooked like that, which looks like
it was self-aware.
That looks like Michael Jordan's tongue when he dunked from the goddamn free throw line.
Yeah.
But, like, I think that they did the whole thing, realized they fucked up, and were like, let me just put this tongue.
Might as well put a tongue.
Well, if I put this tongue here, maybe everybody will think it was a choice, like it was all on purpose. You know what I mean? But, like, yeah, that ain't. If that was in my house, dude, I would have nightmares every goddamn day, which I still do, but I would have even worse ones.
It's got some nice veneers
Yeah, his teeth
look at
ain't
his,
bad.
like human teeth.
Teeth,
It's
right.
got- like them ain't.
That looks like DJ.
Yeah, that our buddy DJ. That one I feel like again, maybe it's like a self. Either
that's
that was
on
on
purpose.
purpose.
That's on purpose.
Either it was on purpose, or they got to the point where they had this end product and realized what it looked like, and so they just set
somebody
it
was
off
like,
with
put
a
an
gold
Elvis
chain
wig
and
and a cigarette
in its mouth. Yeah, right.
And we need to contact this artist for our piece.
That's pretty fucking tight.
We're talking about stuffed bobcats. And hi.
That really does look like he's making that. Hi. How y'all doing? My name is Mr. Bobcat. Woo. And that dude, that fucking fox taking a rape shower. Yeah. Jesus. The hound and the mammal just left me. It was horrible. It was horrible. They just drove off.
You've done it with that one.
They just drove off.
They just drove off.
Now he's getting his shit back together. He's like, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Still got that 1,000-yard stare though. Fucking, Jesus fucking Christ. Look at that motherfucker.
He don't have a neck.
No, he ain't
fucking
got,
no neck having cheetah.
Hey, necks are hard to do.
They must be.
They must be. Yeah. Also, look at his legs. Like they're all them legs ain't like that.
No, they're like table legs.
Like that is a great little coffee table. If that was a smoker, like if they turned that into like a smoker, that'd be pretty fucking great.
Yeah, if it's back just opened up you
and
put some fucking brisket in it.
Yeah, that would hit real hard. But Jesus Christ, man, like like you said, like no wonder like my buddy Mr. Bowers is like the guy. Like it's a hard thing. He's done all our bobcats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, he's got all of them. We've never even thought to go nowhere different.
#1 bobcat man in all of North Georgia.
Yeah, my
Call
God.
Mr. Bowers.
Shoo-wee.
Okay, well, I mean, that's all I've got for taxidermy, so we're about ready to move into Professor Cho on the subject of
butlers. We will be right back after this.
Are you feeling stuck making minimum payments on your credit card debt? SaveWithConrad.com can help, and you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Oh, and did I mention no house payments for 2 months? Get rid of your credit card debt and lower your monthly payments right now at SaveWithConrad.com. Psst. Who's going to take care of your family if something happens to you? What would they do without your income? If you don't have a plan, you need to go to GoliathLife.com. Get a quick quote for more than 20 carriers. You don't even have to leave the house. If you need a medical exam, they'll send somebody to your house or office. You're in total control. You pick the rates, you pick the payments, you pick the terms. You're in total control, but it gives you and your family peace of mind. What if something happens to your income? Hurry to GoliathLife.com.
All right, it's time for another stirring rendition of History with Professor Cho. Today on the subject of butlers. As always, I like to give you my what I already know about the subject at hand. And with butlers, I feel like it's pretty limited, mostly based on Downton Abbey and other masterpiece classic types of things. I feel, okay, butler, so if you're rich, you need a man to talk to people for you and answer your door and tell other people what's what, so you don't have to because none of that hits.
Of course.
So you got a butler for that. And I think, based on shows I've watched, that the butler was kind of like the foreman or was like over the rest of the minions, like the other peons in the service of the house, like reported to the butler, I think. So the butler was like the main slave or main servant.
Yes.
Okay. That's pretty much it.
No, I mean,
I know you got to be real proper and shit too. If you're in like an English country house or whatever, you got to like... There's butler rules.
You do, and I'm actually really glad that you brought up slaves.
You can always count on me.
Well, you can,
slaves.
but because okay, and let me get there. Like in the movie Django, there's Samuel L. Jackson's character who, you know what they call them.
I do.
I'm not going to.
They called them, I believe, house N-words.
Yes. All right,
yes.
But like. In that sense, like that, he was the butler of that household. You know, he was the guy you reported to, and obviously he was a slave, so that don't hit. And like with modern,
that don't
hit. And with modern butlers, that's very much not the case. Like it's a prestigious thing, like they get paid. However, it definitely did just start out with like them being slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, that was like their type of slaves.
Was that was that the
hitness slave? Yes. No, it was.
Okay.
It was the hitness slave to be because so the word butler comes from and I'm about to butcher the shit out of all these pronunciations, but luckily
we can't. No, not this show.
Well, right.
I hate for us to butcher words and get shit wrong here on Puttin On Airs. Surely not.
What I was about to say though is luckily I'm butchering Anglo-Saxon words, so like it's not going to be racist when I say them wrong. Like it's just going to sound stupid. But the word butler comes from the Anglo-Norman butler, variant form of the Old Norman butelier, which now I'm starting to sound like a Daddy Yankee song. Corresponding to Old French botelier, which meant officer in charge of the king's wine bottles. So, and if you go through
bottles, in charge of the bottles, the botelier. The man in charge of the butler, the man in charge of the butlers, the man who is the president of the butlers. Give me the butler. We need the butler, boss.
Who we get to do that? The butler.
Yes, the butler. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the medieval times, wine and booze and such was kept in it was a big fucking ordeal because it was all kept in like oaken casks and stuff. It was before bottling was a thing.
Hold on. Wait. It was before bottles, but yet he was called the bottler?
No. So, like, it comes from all that, but, like, they would have, like, a couple bottles and stuff, but their main stash was in oaken cask. They would, like, bottle some of them, but, like...
From their cask.
But there wasn't...
Like 2 or 3 bottles.
There wasn't, like, mass-produced bottles and shit like that. Like, they would take from the oaken cask and then bottle them, but, their large stock was in these open casks. And so, like, that was a whole fucking... Like, they was pretty much like brewmasters. Like, they were having to keep up with all this stuff. And back then, as you know, like, these sons of bitches, like, they had to drink wine and beer. I mean, they also loved it, but like their water didn't hit.
Right. So way back in the day, they had to they mixed wine in with their water because like the alcohol would kill some of the germs in it or something. So they stayed drinking wine.
Dude, they
would die if they didn't.
They were literally shit faced like 24/7. Like, dude, the amount of I remember my research for some other thing I was doing, like the amount of wine that like an 8-year-old would drink in a year would put your ass to shame. Like they were just stayed drinking.
No wonder they lived to 33.
I know, dude. I mean, had to, and also like if you're back then, it's like may as well be goddamn drunk.
Yeah, everything's a nightmare.
Yeah, because as everybody knows, you're going to end up just coughing to death after plucking a goose. So like,
here the plague come, might as well be drunk.
Yeah, why not be drunk? So in that situation, like because alcohol was so very important, not just to their parties, but to their livelihood, like. They trusted their main slave to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how that goes. And in biblical times, early forms of butlers were just, they were cupbearers. Like, there was at one point, like, I think Pharaoh had he had a dream. Like, Pharaoh didn't have a cupbearer, and he had a dream that someone was bringing him his wine.
The Jews would be slaves forever. That was the dream he had.
He just had this dream where he literally had a dream where a Jew brought him a cup of wine, and he woke up and he was like,
Don't let your dreams be dreams, baby.
Exactly. I'm goddamn Pharaoh.
I can make that happen right now.
Exactly. So they did that. And you know what's funny? Like, I played a character of such in the Easter pageant when I was a kid.
The Jew or the Pharaoh?
No, I didn't play a Jew.
That was the name of the play.
And
The Jew and the Pharaoh.
The Jew and the Pharaoh.
With an entirely kindergarten class. What's the Chickamauga kindergartners perform the classic The Jew and the Pharaoh this Christmas?
What they called me in the play was the Easter pageant at church, and my papaw played Pontius Pilate, and so he had to have a...
Was that like controversial to, like in Chickamauga, playing a man that killed Jesus or sent Jesus to his death or whatever, it's like,
And you know what's funny is my papa looks like Cat Stevens. Okay. Or like he did. Like he was my step papa. Like we weren't related. I didn't find that out till I was like 11. One of them situations.
Very trash.
Where like I just called him papa all my life. And then one day I was like, wait, how come Mama got two daddies?
Right, yeah.
You know, and how come he looks like actually it was
not really your papa. He just fucks your mama.
Yeah.
Which
actually,
makes him papa.
He looked more like Jim Croce, actually. He looked like a lot like Jim Croce.
Yeah.
So he was playing Pontius Pilate, and Pontius Pilate had a cupbearer that was like a little boy who, like, I assume that they all porked. You know, when I just hear like a little boy that's in servitude, like I just assume
he was
the word.
getting porked.
But
for
like,
sure.
I was called the water boy because I would bring. I was the one that was when Pontius Pilate was like, do you know the whole situation with him and Jesus and everything?
Okay, we could take a brief aside to sort of cover this because I'm famously Bible.
It'll take 2 seconds.
Pontius Pilate was like the judge.
He was the
presiding
judge
over the Jesus trial. Pontius Pilate actually kind of sort of was cool, I guess, because he gave the crowd or something the opportunity to.
He didn't really want to kill Jesus.
Brought up Barabbas, who was this big bag of shit, and he was like, "You can free Jesus or you can free Barabbas," and they were like, "Free Barabbas," and then Jesus got strung up, and nailed up.
Yeah, you got it, and then afterwards,
I've seen them. I like Mel Gibson's Ouvroir. So I've seen the movie.
Well, afterwards,
never
famously,
read the book. I heard the book was better, but I saw the movie.
Yeah, no, the movie's way better. But Pontius Pilate after that, like symbolically wanted to like wash his hands clean of that situation, so he calls over to his water boy to bring him a bowl of water so that he can wash his hands clean. But also in that time, the water boy was also his cupbearer that brought him his wine, which is an early form of someone being a
buteler.
A buteler. Because, and also in ancient Greece and Rome, basically throughout all of history until you get to like the Elizabethan era, pretty much what butler meant was the motherfucker who is in charge of the wine, which is a super, super important deal. It was during the Elizabethan era, the first Elizabethan era, obviously, that what was known as a steward is now what we think of as like a butler today, like your Alfred or your Jeffrey from Fresh Prince or your Carson, you know, which Alfred actually like. He's not really like a great example of a butler, mainly because
most butlers don't run supercomputers inside of caves.
There's that, but he also
submarines attached to it and stuff.
There's that, but he also like talks shit to Batman.
He does,
and treats him more like a daddy, like the butler.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson kind of did that in Django too.
He did. Yeah, he did.
In private, he did. Yeah, he sort of fucking dressed him down and whatnot.
He did, and there was a you know what?
Leo was basically slave Batman.
And you know what? Carson kind of does that a little bit too. Like he will he will be like, "My lord, if I could speak."
That's entirely prudent.
If I could speak out of turn, you know. But like they still do it like that, you know. But Alfred, I feel like every now and then would just be like, "Bruce, you're being a goddamn
idiot.
Get
your shit together, motherfucker."
Yeah, you're being a fuck. Of course, their dynamic was like a little bit different.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, man, like that was kind of their whole thing. Like they were pretty much just the wine people. But then when it came to the Elizabethan era, they were like, we could probably get this motherfucker to do like a whole lot of other stuff. And there's my man Carson, one of my absolute favorite characters of all time in any television show. That son of a bitch just crushes it.
It ain't never been a more butler ass motherfucker than that motherfucker right there.
No, he absolutely crushes it. And then so butlers really weren't a thing anywhere else except for in like, you know, the European places and stuff like that. Like the United States didn't have them until, would you like to guess what the earliest form of butlers were in the United States?
Was it house in words?
Yeah, it was. Yes. Yes. It was absolutely the slaves.
Of course.
By the way, while we're talking,
everything was the slaves.
By the way, while we're talking about Carson, there has been like a 5,000% increase in new butlers across the world since Downton Abbey started, and they attribute it all to that. Like people got like super fascinated with like, oh damn, that does hit.
Was it that regular rich people that wouldn't have normally thought to have a butler were like, oh shit, I'm rich, I should have a butler, and then they got into the butler game?
Yes, pretty much. And like people in all types of countries, of course, have always had like servants and shit like that, but like the specific English type of butler. Like in China, they've always had fucking servants and concubines and like all that type of shit. But like now, if you are a Carson type motherfucker, you can actually make more money in China than a Chinese butler. because it's like a fantasy thing to them.
I've heard that in like Chinese corporations, they will hire white dudes who have no acumen whatsoever. They have no skills whatsoever. They hire white dudes and put them in suits and literally have them stand around to be like room meat, basically. Because over there, it's like, if you see white people in suits, that means, oh, y'all doing real business in here. So having a white man also be your butler or whatever over there, I could see how that's like a massive flex.
Yeah. Also, you put a cowboy hat on one of them, they fucking go wild for that shit. Like Chinese motherfuckers love cowboy shit. Like I don't know what it is, they just do, man. Like they do. Like Stan Hansen was like, he was a very popular wrestler in America. But when and I say Chinese, I guess I should have said Asian, because when he went over to Japan to wrestle, he ended up just staying over there because he was a cowboyed up, like with a whip guy, and they just fucking went crazy about him because, like, they had seen a lot of our Western movies and stuff like that. So to them, like, John Wayne was just like, holy shit, this is what an American bad guy is. You know what I'm saying? But, like, yeah, over there, if you are an English dude, like, again, right now, I guess, like, butlering had gone down a little bit, probably because, like, the world economy had gone down. So there was a lot of people having to, like, let go of their butlers and shit. But ever since Downton Abbey and, you know, Bitcoin and shit getting hot again, I don't know, like, all these people are starting to get butlers. There's also, like, certain levels of butlers in certain countries that, like, even what their middle class is can actually kind of get them. Basically, that it's like how there are some where the middle class is actually the middle class. People that have nannies, and what they do is they just have a butler instead, and they all attribute this to, like, Downton Abbey. Like, Gillian Fellows brought back this huge trend, and they've been having a lot more people sign up for the Butler Academy, which is a real thing. Like, it's a school that you can go to. And I'll be honest with you, like, now that I'm reading that makes a lot of sense that they have, like, a training ground. But to me, I always thought it was like, my daddy was a butler, his daddy was a butler, and by God, I'm going to be a butler. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know people just went like, I'm going to be a butler. Because
I'm going to go to butler school.
Because I have this whole, even when I'm seeing them, I'm like, I know that they're getting paid, but this still feels so slavey. And, like, why would anyone, like, why would anyone want to do that?
It's like, but we're in show business, sort of. And, like, a lot of people in show business who have assistants, assistants real huge out here. And it's like, are those kind of just young butlers? You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference? Or, like, interns or a thing?
There is a difference in a PA.
Are they just like butlers by any other name? Or what makes a butler a butler?
A butler, first off, like, in order to, I think, consider yourself a butler, like, you kind of now have to go through this. Like,
you got to go to butler college.
You got to go to butler college, which cost, I think, is like approximately, it was like 15,000 pounds, maybe, or something like that. But the thing is like, first off, throwback to a couple episodes ago, butlers get paid way more than, like, the Queen's Guard and shit like that. Like, you can start out at like $60,000 a year, and also you get your housing, you get your food. Not only do you get your food, like, you get hidden food. It's not like back in the slave days where they're like, here's the fucking scraps. Like, you actually, like, you've got, when you're a butler, like, you also have control of, like, what goes on in the house. Like, you kind of just run the show. Like, a big thing with butlers is, like, they come in, they meet the Duke and the Archduke or whatever, and they sort of, like, get a sense of their sensibilities, and a big part of their job is anticipating the needs. In other words, you would never really have to ask a butler anything. Like, once they've been there,
just already
it's just already there. Like, once the butler has been with you for a while, because they talk about how, like, these super rich people they're people of routine. Like, everything is pretty much the same every day unless something throws it off. Like, and that's how they like it. Like, this is the time, like, the butler can meet them. Boom, there's the paper. I knew you was going to walk out at this time. So, like, that's a huge thing with them. And so, again, like, hardcore training has to be done. But, like, another thing I was reading about and looking, and, like, of course some of these people could be lying, but, like, I'm sitting there going, like, man, I wouldn't want to be nobody's goddamn servant. And I'm sure that, like, they're doing it for the money and it really don't hit for them. And they're, at the end of the day, they're like anybody else. They're talking shit about them. Dude, from what I can tell, like, they love it. Like, they absolutely love serving. That is their fucking life. Like, again, they get...
I'm sure all the rich people say the same thing too.
I know.
About that, like, the slaves.
No. I know.
Honestly, it hits for them.
Okay, but again, the big difference here is that they are getting paid.
Right,
like entry level, like $60,000. Like if you're getting paid $60,000, I'm not saying that's a shit ton of money, but like that's not slave
I was
wages.
A server at O'Charlie's.
Yeah.
I would have much preferred to have been some fucking oil magnate's butler or whatever
and again,
during that time. That would have hit way harder.
Well, and
maybe I might have been.
But as the butler, you're also, if they're having chicken Kiev, there's a good chance you're having chicken Kiev.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a good chance that you're
in the coat closet.
Yeah, for sure.
In the 15-second interval you have, you could shove some chicken Kiev down your throat.
Sure. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to defend the whole thing. That was actually fascinating to me because I just believe, I still kind of believe what you're saying, but like, I heard tons of them talking, and some of who are no longer butlers, who like, it's not like they're having to protect anything. They're just like, no, I mean, I genuinely loved it. They're like, I've been with some people who treated me kind of.
What do you know about this? Because here's what I've always wondered about butlers. Do they have multiple butlers that go in shifts? Because I always felt like the main thing that would really not hit about being a butler is you got to be there when the Lord wakes up. Yep. You got to be there all throughout the day, and you got to be there when the Lord goes to sleep. So, like, you're working like 18 hours a day or
14 is
like
the
that.
average. 14 is the average. The average.
That's fucking crazy, dog.
6 days.
I don't care if it's just standing there with your fucking arms folded with a towel hanging over it. And that's a long time to do that.
And 6 days a week usually. Like they get their Sundays off. But like I was watching several butlers in like interviews. They were former butlers. So like again, like you won't be able. You couldn't interview someone who's a current butler to somebody
because they ain't allowed to do that.
No, because like the biggest priority job for a butler that some of these butlers will tell you, they're like, yes, of course we have to wash every single knife. We have to make sure there's no stains on everything. We have to make sure that every single napkin on the table is exactly 2 fingers from the end of the table. We have to make sure that the champagne flutes are here and that the porridge spoon is here and that the pudding spoon is here. He goes, but above all else is discretion. He goes, that's the main thing that these people want.
I guarantee that's true. You can't just be throwing whores off boats and stuff and have people being loose-lipped about it. You got to block that shit now.
And there's this one guy he was talking about, he's like, I won't say who, but I used to work for these people, and he's like, I would walk in sometimes, and I would just have to be like, is there anything I can do? You know, whatever. Yeah. He's like, discretion above all else is loyalty, and that's your main gig. And they also said
clean up a lot of goat blood.
They also said because of that, like you look at the base salary and you're like, it's $60,000, and you're like, okay, well, I mean, like that's not the most money ever. Room and board, all that shit, food. Also, they get tipped all the time, even though they're
by their lord.
Yeah, they call it veils or like there's some specific, like they can't. Of course, fancy people can't just call it a tip. It's a specific thing with them. But like they're constantly like, you know, if basically like. What I'm thinking is like it's like a bribe. Like when they do, of course they're like you're supposed to have discretion, but like they will pay them for their discretion. Like if you walk in on somebody like sawing off a dead lady's toe and you're eating it, they'll be like, "Here's $30,000, Jeeves." Which, by the way, did you know where Jeeves comes from?
I did not.
Okay, so Jeeves, the reason that we call them all Jeeves, why Jeeves? Well, that comes from a comic book series by P.G. Wodehouse. That was he named the butler who takes care of the main character Bertie Wooster. And since 1915, that's just what we call like Jeeves is just that. It was a wildly popular comic book series, and then of course there was Ask Jeeves. So like Jeeves is just what butler
part of the popular lexicon.
Exactly.
It's like eponyms.
Yes,
like Kleenex and Band-Aid.
A butler is
dumpster and all that. Yeah,
you got you a Jeeves.
You got a Jeeves. Yeah, right.
But anyways, like they very much get paid for their discretion in that sense, but also like. They say that it's not nothing, like their Christmas bonuses are insane. They also say it's not nothing for like on their birthday, the Lord will just like give them a fucking Maybach, you know what I mean? Like a $300,000 car and just be like, yo, this is your shit.
So is it the type of thing where like when people are young and they just get out of Butler College and again, and not the fucking white basketball player university in Indiana.
Which, like, by the way, when I was researching this, it was real hard to get search results that wasn't
there's Butler University
or Jimmy Butler. It was just Jimmy Butler and Butler University.
But the college for butlers.
Yeah,
they get out of Butler College and they're young and they get this job working for some sheik or whatever, and because all your room and board, all your bills are paid for because you're living on their shit and eating their food, and they pay you whatever a year. you do that real hard for a few years and sort of save up and then quit and say fucking and leave the game?
They're usually real old when they do that. But yeah,
real old.
I don't say
like,
real.
Do they dedicate a life to fucking abstinence? And,
this one,
there's Gerard Butler.
This one, he came up a lot too. Now this one guy that I was seeing being interviewed, and he was like giving all the tips. That's right. He was probably like 72, and he'd kind of given it up, and like he had a nice. I actually think that like his Lord bought him a nice like little cottage or whatever. And again, like I'm not saying like having to serve people, but they are.
You would have to essentially be a bachelor that whole time, wouldn't you? You literally wouldn't have time to date or start a family or none of that shit. So
no.
like,
I mean, hell, even in Downton Abbey when it was like they allowed it, like Carson like wouldn't hardly get with anybody because he was like, I'm married to the game, bitch.
All butlers is married to the game.
But like again, to hear some of these, and I know that like these are just very anecdotal things, but to hear some tell, they're like, I genuinely love it. They're like, I love the precision, I love the routine. I was born to serve. You know, they like ordering motherfuckers around too. You know what I mean? Like they've got their footmen and stuff like that.
Okay, so that also is they are also a boss.
Absolutely,
they're the boss of the underlings.
Oh, they're the
underservants.
Oh, they're the boss. And you don't. I mean, pretty much from what I read, like the way that Carson was portrayed in that show is very much, you know, like everything goes through him.
So you go to Butler College and get out, and you get on as like a footman or a fucking tire boy or whatever, and you know, a broom. You're the horse brusher or some shit. And you work your way up to butler?
You can do that, but now because there's such a demand for butlers, again, because of Downton Abbey and because, like, Chinese people are just like, God damn, we got to get us a British dude. You actually can kind of get to the top a little bit quicker.
Get straight into
if you got it. And they say, too, that, like, you know, butlers, like, if you're a really top-tier butler and you're having a problem at your house and you need to leave, it'll be 2 weeks before you have a job. Like, you get headhunted. Like, these rich people here, like, oh, that, because they go to, like, parties with these people and see their butler and are like,
that butler hits.
Yeah, and they'll be like, hey, as soon as they start giving you problems, you come buttle my house.
Yeah, I like the way he holds
I like the way he butts.
I like the way he butts. I like the way he holds that wine.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, and also, dude, like, it's so funny, too, like, Butler School and shit like that, like, they actually run drills, like NFL combine, like, shit.
That's also like an old Robin Williams bit where he's talking about the Swiss Army knife having fucking corkscrews on it.
Yeah.
It's like, many of you men have never opened Chardonnay under fire before.
but like they'll do this thing where like I saw this one training drill where like they're all like walking around in a circle holding a tray, and like the butler who's the head of the Butler School, who used to be this, he's considered the wealthiest butler ever. Like he's worth like $2.5 million or something like that. And now he loves it so much. He's like, I'm starting a school.
Married to the game.
And he'll sit there and he has this like big, you know, them big ass tennis balls, like oversized tennis ball, like, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah,
just a tennis ball, but huge.
But huge, like you've seen them. Like they make.
You talking about like a medicine ball?
It's like how
like a heavy ball.
But no, it literally looks like a tennis ball. Like how
I've never seen an oversized
It's basically like
ball.
You know how in basketball they made a big baseball. It's that, but it's a big tennis ball, and he just sits there in the middle with it. And these motherfuckers will be walking around with a tray, and he'll just chunk it at their heads.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, he would just.
Because I was going to make a joke about picturing dudes in cummerbunds holding like trays of fine china doing like rope drills and shit like that. I was going to joke about that, but apparently that's pretty much what they really do. They like do bull in the ring, but with a fucking butler and a fucking tray of wine.
And he'll see like that. He'll throw. It wasn't that big. It wasn't that big a one. It literally was like the basketball. But like he'll be sitting there and they'll be going to ring and he'll like throw it at somebody and they'll dodge it and everything will be cool. And then he'll wait for like several minutes and all of a sudden he'll just peg somebody in the fucking head.
It's so funny because the implication of that is, listen, your Lord is going to throw something at your head, and you've got to not be able to drop that champagne, motherfucker, or else get the fuck out.
Well, really,
if you can't have something fucking hurled at your head while balancing champagne, then go to fuck home, because we got plenty of people that are
can do that shit. Well, realistically, more
you
what it is.
You ain't cut out for it if you can't do it.
Realistically, more what it is like when Tiger Woods was a kid, his dad would he'd be in the middle of his backswing, and his dad would take his golf bag and just slam it down on the ground to make a huge sound. And Tiger was trained to, if that happened, he could still swing through. Obviously, that's never going to happen. But if you can handle that, then someone in the crowd screaming ain't going to be shit to you. So I think it's a little bit of that. But dude, watching these dudes just pelt butlers in the head and make them drop all their fucking china and shit like that. Pretty goddamn hilarious. They also had, you were talking about the combine stuff. They also did have a drill where they would just call them out in the morning and get them down there, and they'd just be in their regular pajamas, and the dude would just get a stopwatch out and he'd just be like, get dressed, last one down here is fucking out. And they would all sprint up the stairs and topple over each other and shit. Talk about you broke a new record of getting into your butler attire and shit like that. So again, it's very combine-y. And then at the end of butler school, they have them in a room, and they're where you would normally have your grades posted and everybody comes up and looks at them. They in front of everybody rank all the butlers, starting with the lowest. And for the record, usually all of them pass. It's just they still have to tell them, here's the least hitting butler, and they have points and stuff like that.
Would the way they sound or talk be factored in, or are butlers expected to be silent? Because I was going to make a joke about how me and you would never get through the front door of butler school because they would just hear us talk and be like, get the fuck out.
So, well,
nobody on earth wants a butler that sounds like a fucking racist banjo.
I mean, that's probably true, and all of these people that I saw in these videos were British, but silence actually is a huge qualification.
I'm sure that's
because,
true,
and this one guy was saying, he goes, it's a trope in the movie Clue and stuff like that. It's everybody's oh, the butler did it. And he goes, well, really what that comes from truth, because you won't believe this. There were a lot of murders at these houses and stuff that people were having to solve, and they would bring detectives in there. And the footmen and the cooks and everything, they're allowed to talk. And so they would be given their story of what happened, and the butler would not, he'd plead the fifth the whole time and not say a goddamn word, because again,
get stitches, dog.
Discretion is his number one job. And so many times they'd be like, we think the butler did it. And they're like, no, it's just that he's literally not allowed to say a goddamn word. That to his grave, he will take the shit that he saw. That's just what he do.
That's the game, baby.
I was reading.
Did they used to cut butlers' tongues out way back in the day? Because that seems like a thing.
I would say, but
find a child slave, cut his tongue out, teach him to hold champagne on a tray, and bam, you got a butler.
I was looking into some of that stuff, but I didn't find in my research any butler that wasn't just purely this what I do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They really, dude, they were interviewing one of Trump's old butlers.
It's probably one of them deals where because they have butler underlings, they got footmen and shit like that. I bet there's a lot of footmen and whatnot that don't really give a fuck. They get into it and they're like, fuck all this bullshit.
Don't.
But in order to be a butler, you kind of got to be in it for love of the game, or you wouldn't even be in that position to begin with.
I'm telling you, man, I think a lot of what I'm saying.
Butlers ain't fucking smoking cigarettes out back and talking shit.
They're not.
Because
they're not, dude.
Because they wouldn't be in that position.
And
otherwise.
in the show, Carson, you know that in Carson's mind, he would know that some bullshit was up and that he didn't agree with it. But then when people would start talking about it, he was like, you will address them as Lord in front of me. I don't care what they do. This is... our job is to keep up these goddamn appearances. Now, I don't know how much of all that is propagated by big lord and lady to make us believe all this stuff. But again, we're talking, I'm looking at interviews with butlers who long been out of it, and they're just I loved every second of it. Sometimes it was stressful. They're I worked with this one dude, and I'll be honest with you, he was a raging lunatic. He goes, but sometimes that was cool. It wasn't boring. He goes, there was never, but what you were talking about earlier, working 14 hours a day, there's a new sect of people called super butlers for these super millionaires and stuff like that. And it's they're the butler and they're the personal valet and this one guy was talking. He's like, look, man, he's like, I get paid a lot. He's like, but it was a 24-hour job. He's like, it was, don't get me wrong. Obviously if they slept, I could sleep, but if they woke up at 3 and they wanted some shit done, I just had to do that.
Right.
You know, like that's just what I had to do. And he's like, but, you know, got a Maserati, got all this shit. And so they was like, hey, what are you going to do? So, like, that's the deal. In closing, I got this from the Butler Academy's website. Here are just some of the duties of the butler. Obviously, help his employer into his coat. He's in charge of the dining room, the wine cellar, the pantry, and sometimes the entire main floor. Waiting on the table at mealtimes, looking after the silver in the house, locking up the house at night, cleaning the knives and the shoes, cleaning the furniture, looking after his master's clothes, taking letters from/to his master and mistress, and also every day rewinding the clocks. So, like, you know, this is a dude that keeps it all together. But again, in my research, and I know this is all anecdotal, they just really seem like they love butlering so goddamn much, and they take so much pride in it. And I just saw so many that, like, again, had really good relationships with these people. And it was kind of like I was talking about earlier with the rich people throwing these lavish weddings. I'm like, I mean, these people got paid. You know what I mean? Like, I look and I go, well, these rich people, gotta look at him with a butler. It's like, yeah, but the butler, like that, they employed the guy, so like he got a job. So I don't know, man, but it's very, very, very interesting. And if you want to become a butler, you can do that. You can just go to, I think, butleracademy.com or something like that and get a goddamn massive tennis ball thrown at your head while you're just trying to walk around with some champagne flutes.
Living the Pharaoh's dream, baby. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day you and I can make a young would-be butler's dreams come true.
I'll be honest with you. I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, I mean, I've taken more shit just trying to make it in Hollywood. Hell, right. You know what I mean? Yeah. At least somebody might give me a car.
Yeah. All right. Well,
one last thing.
Please show this clip.
Okay. Yeah, that too.
Yes,
I thought this was interesting. Apparently, the highest paid butler is actually from the U.S.
Yeah, Gary Williams. That's him.
Yeah. Shout out Gary
He's
Williams.
The principal of the British Butler Institute. Yeah.
2.2 mil a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
good.
what's up. Please play that clip that I just came across while I was researching the butlers. This is so goddamn funny.
And a vacation. But if you thought those days were over, you would be wrong.
Butlers are absolutely essential. People are working and earning shitloads of money to all rise and find assets.
Did you hear what he said?
What did he say?
He goes, these people are working and they're making shitloads of money. Dude, I had to rewind it like 3 times because like that coming out of that dude.
No.
Like that was so goddamn funny to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were talking about how like you might think that butlers are a thing of the past, but they're actually still here to get
all over the fucking place.
Some people are making shitloads of money.
Some of these fuckers.
But yeah, that's butlering.
All right, that's butlering. Raw. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Airheads. We'll see you next time on Puttin On Airs.
Yeah. Thank you. Subscribe. Tell all your friends. Skew.
I say ta rah
rah rah rah rah rah rah rah till I die. Rah 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 rah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cut, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs.
Well, we sure hope that you enjoyed this edition of Puttin On Airs, Airheads. We really appreciate you. And remember, if you're watching on YouTube, we would still really love it if you'd go to wherever your favorite podcast platform is and hit that subscribe. Also, leave us a 5-star review. It takes you 2 seconds, but it really, 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 really helps us. We are in the iTunes top of the charts, and we'd like to not only stay there, but go even further up. The show has been so well received. We super appreciate y'all. And I can't thank you enough. I'm having fun with it, ain't you, Trae?
I am, yeah. Also, so yeah, here's our little postscript segment, clearing the air or whatever. I'm thinking I'm gonna start a running bit where I just look worse and worse every week in terms of
and we call it a different thing every time, maybe.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, Corey, he's been fancying it up and he's got at least some stars on his blazer there today. I don't know if I've pushed him further in that direction because in weeks past it's been fucking chain mail and all kinds of stuff. And I'm always just wearing a t-shirt. And now I've got like this t-shirt's frayed and everything. But anyway, it's okay. This is a different type of thing we're doing here. You said the show's been, go ahead.
And on an episode, I think it was an episode that's already aired, we did talk about how the richer the person and the more fancy the person, oftentimes, in Hollywood at least, the worse they dress. So maybe you're just going for that.
Maybe. I'm not achieving that, though. Yeah. So, I'm just trash. That's all it is. Anyway, I was trying. So a couple of things. So, turns out, seems the squirrel segment was a pretty big hit with people. Can't believe it. The show came out on Friday, as it does. The next day, Saturday, after the show aired, we had a show in Louisville, Kentucky, and a lady showed up wearing a shirt that said, "Trae, squirrels can feel love" on it. So,
dude, I'm pretty sure that was actually Friday night.
I got the picture. Drew sent me the picture Saturday.
He did, but it happened Friday. It was
okay.
She listened to the episode and then had hours to make a shirt and come to the show.
And did. And that's wild. Yeah. Hours to make a fraudulent and misguided shirt, but that's okay. That's all right.
Our first bootleg. Those show's only 4 episodes deep. We've already got bootleggers out there.
Yeah, but anyway, we ain't got to get into all that again. But you also said the show's been well received. Has largely. There's one person I heard some feedback from. Some people might have seen this in the comments, and I was going to say a thing on here. I don't even know
what this is.
Okay, so we posted a clip of that story about me having to pay my own almost having to pay my own child support after my dad died, right? That is the important part of that story, that the state of Tennessee attempted to make me pay my own back child support after my dad died, is 100% true. I pushed back and they relented, so it ended up being fine. But they suggested I sell the house and use that to pay it. All that shit is 100% true. My mama has since taken issue with a number of the details in the story, unsurprisingly.
Did she listen to the show?
She saw the clip. I posted the clip on my Facebook page, which I sorely regret just for this reason. And that's the thing, is like, because she saw it in the clip I posted on Facebook, she probably won't see this, but maybe Paige can send it to her or something. I don't know. You can tell it, or whatever. I'm just saying, I'm just acknowledging publicly that I was a kid when all that was going down. There's 2 sides to every story. Divorces don't hit, whatever. She's got her own side of it. My dad, I lived with my dad. I'm biased towards his interpretation of it, whatnot. So everybody listening, don't think, any more poorly of my mama or nothing. She disputes some of the things I said about how that went down between her and my dad. I'm not going to say which one is correct. I'm just saying that she has levied an objection to my, telling of that part of the story. And so now everybody knows that in the future.
How many times has your mama objected in her life?
Oh, so many. So many. She stay objecting to things. But anyway, the point of the story was that I'm so white trash that the state of Tennessee once tried to come after me for my own child support. And that is 100% true and did happen. So, and everything that I said is how I remembered it. I'm saying I'm allowing for the possibility that my recollection is biased or skewed, in a certain direction, and maybe it's not exactly how it all went down as far as the details of it. So anyway, I just told my sister that I'd do something like this on this segment this week, just to sort of like
clear the olive
branch. So to clear the air. So here we are. But on the episode you just listened to, I believe I talked about taxidermy. And if I had something that I said on that I need to, like apologize for or clarify, I don't recall. Here's the deal. We've been like trying to go back and listen to them, but this week producer Russ had he took some episodes down to do some technical stuff to them, and me and Cho couldn't access them to flip through them in time to do this. So all I know is I talked about taxidermy, which I remember. I remember them goofy pictures we put up. I remember the bobcat that was, going, hi, and all that. And I think we good. I hope everybody enjoyed the taxidermy stuff. And then you talked about butlers on this episode.
Yeah, I would say that if I know our fan base, which I know that Putting On Airs, we have new fans, but I would say that we have more people that could probably refute some of your taxidermy stuff than we do people who could refute anything I said about butlers. I don't know if we have any butlers or butler related people that listen to the episode, but I'm sure that I got some stuff wrong. But like I said, if I got some stuff wrong, I don't think anybody would be like, that's not true. But now with taxidermy, I would say we've got 1 or 2 fans that is like, their daddy's a taxidermist or their uncle's a taxidermist, or they are into amateur bobcat stuffing or something, and they might have something to say. And you know that you can email us at puttingonairs@gmail.com with all your thoughts.
I did just remember. Okay. So this is the episode where it's so funny coming on the heels of the squirrel episode. In talking about the taxidermy, I remember I get off on a tangent about like the how am I trying to say this? The absence of value placed on the lives of cats when it comes to being on farms or whatever. Made a reference to them being bagged up and thrown in a river, I think, at one point, stuff like that. Because we were talking about how this dude had a whole bunch of dead cats he was stuffing, but he wasn't killing them. And we're like, so that's fine. And then that led me into this whole thing about, people, way they do cats. And then it got pretty, pretty upsetting, I think, maybe for some people for a while there. But I was just reporting the news is all I was doing.
That's all we ever try to do. I mean, it's either our opinion, anecdotal evidence, or we're just saying stuff that we read off the internet. But again, you can refute any and all things at puttingonairs@gmail.com. And speaking of that, we do have some letters that I would like to get to, if that's okay with you, Trae.
Yeah, please.
Okay, this is from Tiger Eyes. I put these thoughts and comments on one of the videos on Putting On Airs, but I decided to also send this message in case it's too lengthy for the format of YouTube video comments. That's a theme with our fans. I'll tell you what, whenever we get an email, it is not just one paragraph, hey, how you doing? It is a treatise, and I'm not complaining. We thank you all for being so into the show.
We also sort of just put that out into the world, like, we be like that.
We're verbose.
And, so like it sort of makes sense that the universe sends it back to us.
Yeah, I get it. I think it might be amusing to call your follow-up segment after the Putting On Airs main show After Airs, an obvious play on the term after hours. That is good. We'll probably
I feel like every suggestion we've gotten has been good, so we're probably just going to keep using all of them in some kind of, whichever one we think of on any given week.
Yeah, right. Right.
Who needs consistency? Not us, not this outfit.
So this is their pitch. Welcome to After Airs, the AA with a 13-step program, because much like Tolstoy, the phrase baker's dozen make Corey fantasize about cookies. Plus, continuing the play on airs for hours could lead to a drink-themed segment called Happy Hours, which that's fucking great. And ad portions could fall under business hours. This motherfucker is on fire. Once again, it's time to open up for business hours with this week's sponsor, Blue Chew, because it goes great in the Patriot blend. That's Red Bull, White Claw, and Blue Chew, the mix that'll make you stand at attention halfway between your salutes and your boots. Tiger Eyes is on fire right now.
Yeah, this is solid stuff. They should write copy. God damn.
I know. Also, I was thinking about a possible segment, maybe even a repeat one, where you could discuss frauds, meaning people that pretended to be rich, especially in order to scam wealthy individuals, called fake heirs and pose heirs. So good. Fake/fake heirs and posers, because it's very interesting how some rich people are more likely to give money to someone they believe to also be wealthy than they are to give someone who is poor. So great. I bet the worst part for them is when one of those scammers gets caught, is them finding out that instead of giving money to the princess of Stuckapry, they were giving it to a non-famous non-heiress. Nobody. The horror. And I know I may be stretching it thin, but much like the weekly skews and the daily dumbass segment, if you had a portion on individuals that did/got away with illegal/immoral/ridiculous actions simply due to their wealth/fame/connections, you could call them an heirs hole, a play on arsehole. This week, heirs hole is Will Smith for simultaneously wanting the people to stay out of his family's business while also expecting them to be aware it was due to a medical condition. Luckily for him, he's rich enough that the only slap he'll get back is on the wrist. Anyways, I rambled too much. Sorry about about that. Too long didn't read. After airs, happy hours, fake airs, pose airs, and perhaps airs holes. MK. Wonderful email.
Good job, MK. Yeah.
Absolutely tremendous stuff. And now we have Nicola. I assume that's Russian, right?
I mean, sounds it. Yeah.
Sure. Hey, how are you doing? Apologies as this turns into a lengthy read. Just watched the episode on the Queen's Guard and beginning the squirrel episode when I thought I'd send this email. I'm enjoying this new show so much. I obviously enjoy well-read and skews, but I think it's seeing how much you both enjoy what you're doing in each other's company that, quote, hits for me. I can maybe give some perspective or reference for a couple of things with regards to the UK. Full disclosure, I'm Scottish, not British, and I want to see my country become the independent, progressive country that we can be given a chance, hopefully 2023. So I'm not overly fond of UK, so perhaps my views are a little clouded. This is about to be good. Now that that's out of the way, the British intellectual comedy thing. As with every era of life, here the class system is in effect. Comedy and the performing arts are all dominated by the privately educated, polished accents brigade, and those from poorer backgrounds or with regional accents do struggle to get a look in. But there are some exceptions that I think you should check out if you have the time and inclination. Rod Gilbert, Welsh comedian, Ross Noble, Newcastle, Mickey Flanagan, Cockney, hell yeah, Russell Howard, Greg Davies, Jamali Maddox, and the late, great Sean Locke. I know Sean Locke from all the panel shows, and he was absolutely tremendous. Of course, Scottish comedians Billy Connolly, Daniel Sloss, and if you don't mind brutal humor, then Frankie Boyle, and we do not, I promise you. And the Queen's Guard bearskin hat was only just in the news a few months ago. They'd spend millions on these hats, with each hat made from at least one bear. So a company called... So a company called Echo Pelt came up with an alternative, but it's been rejected. I've included a link to an article here. And yeah, to the English, the Scots, and and yes, to the English and the Scots, the Welsh are sheep fuckers. But regionally in Scotland, we call those from Aberdeen sheep shaggers, just because they are largely agricultural. The Prince of Wales owns major parts of Wales, Cornwall, and the west of England. This gets run as both a private company and his own estate. So, like the rest of the royals, he doesn't pay taxes, but does charge rent. Also, Corey absolutely rocks a white open neck shirt, but I got more of a Gangrel vibe. Gangrel, famous for playing a vampire in the WWE. Interesting topic for you possibly would be the enjoyment of trophy hunting, particular by the royals. We do that later, don't we? Pretty sure they contributed to the extinction of a few species. Also interesting is the archaic and bizarre rituals of Parliament and House of Lords. Yes, I cannot wait to get into that shit. Going to stop here as I've written way more than I intended. Keep up the great work, guys. You're helping a lot of people get through their day. Also, tremendous email. Did we already do the trophy hunting thing?
Okay, so again, as we've said, we record all these in batches. It's been a while. Yeah, there's definitely at some point it comes up. So yeah, I believe so. I just don't remember exactly when that'll be.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Here's from Andrew Andrew Combos. Sorry if this isn't the proper email. I'm perpetually stoned. Big history buff from Leapers Fork, Tennessee. You know where that is? Lepers Fork or Leapers Fork.
Never heard of it.
Lost my dad young, but he planted a seed for it, so I grew up researching all kinds on the internet. Really appreciate the content. Fills the time between football seasons. I heard that, buddy. Sometimes some suggestions I hope y'all don't need. The link between Christian money lending practices, the plague, and still running conspiracy theories about Jews. We'll get to that. Also, if you look into the massive influence fancy people had in covert war from World War II on, and maybe compare it to SF or something poor folks can do. What is that? What is SF, you think?
I don't know.
I don't either. But I'm into all this. Legacy of Ashes is a fantastic book written on the CIA and is one of the darkest nonfiction comedies ever written. Thank you, Andrew Combos.
So I want to say, I think it's got to be so funny people listening to this just after they heard the episode, because I think the trophy hunting discussion just took place as part of this episode. Right. I think looking back through my notes, if I'm remembering it correctly, because I believe I'd planned on getting to that before the squirrels happened.
Right.
So the next episode we recorded, I circled back to some of it before getting into taxidermy. I think it's really hope that, but it's so funny because it's either going to they're either going to be sitting there right now listening like, man, it is wild how way off they are about their own show. Right. Or they're going to be sitting there like, Jesus Christ. Like, yes, we know. We literally just heard all of that happen. Like, we know. So, yeah, we got some things to iron out with our process here.
We sure do, but it's a learning thing. This is from the Stygian Emperor. Hi, I'm Zerok, and I'm probably not the only one, but I'd be able and willing to start and admin your Discord server. Right on. Discord servers are free. Yada, yada, yada. Goes through all the Discord stuff. You can also integrate Discord-related benefits with Patreon. Yada, yada, yada. Anyways, yeah, if you don't have like 10 more competent people already wanting to make you a Discord server, let me know and I can set one up. Postscript. And let Corey know I forgive him for not reading my boring-ass novelette after presumably drunkenly offering to read something of mine in an email that time. I still love him. I don't remember that. So you can re-forward me that novelette and I will absolutely read it the next time. That's probably, I was probably drunk and accidentally like clicked read and then thought I'd read it.
I believe that's the Stygian Emperor. Stygian, it's derived from like the river Styx, and I think it means like very dark or hellish. So it's like the emperor of the underworld. So he sounds perfect for moderating in like an internet forum.
Set it up.
Or a Discord. Yeah, it's right up their alley.
Yeah, you've got our permission. Here we got one from Duncan Scales. Hey, Corey and Trae, my favorite author as a high schooler was Kurt Vonnegut. I also love Kurt Vonnegut. I was tearing through his books and wavering on the idea of writing to him because surely he was swamped with fan mail. My teenage brain assumed that me loving an author meant that surely everyone else did and was constantly writing to him. Before I could get over the anxiety hump and do it, he died. I hope that you guys are doing well and that you don't die anytime soon. Thank you for the comedy, the podcast, the sketches, the escape from the fuck storm that all our lives have been for the last 6 years. Everything has been awful, but both of you, Drew, DJ, and your persistence in showing up and making people laugh has made a lot of it easier to live with. When you feel down, as we all must sometimes, remember how much you help people. Just don't go putting on airs about it. Subscribed, Duncan Scales. Thank you, Duncan.
Well, thank you, Duncan. Very sweet.
Very sweet. And finally, from Chuck Cora, who I have to assume is the same Chuck Cora from Apodlacha, which is a wonderful podcast that me and Trae have both been on. Go listen to it. Dear Fancy Folks, wanted to drop a comment in response to Trae mentioning last week that hunting is important for the ecosystem. Paraphrasing. This is very true, especially for moose in Maine. I'm by no means an expert, but we recently visited my wife's family there, and many of them are seasoned moose hunters. I believe it's meese is the plural.
Moosin.
Hunting moosin is highly regulated and seen as an important part of managing a healthy mysin population and reducing parasitism in them. Permits are, that's one of them words that I've seen a lot but never said, parasitism in them. Permits are extremely hard to get because tens of thousands apply for only a few thousand permits. It took her uncle, a native Mainer, like 7 years to get one. Anyways, moose meat hits real hard. Her uncle bagged one and sent moose steaks and burgers down to us, and it's about the best goddamn meat I've ever had. Fringe benefits of marrying into the right family. Love the show. It's probably my new favorite podcast. Thank you, Chuck Cora.
Well, how sweet. Need to give me some of that moose meat, baby. I ain't never had it.
And that does it for the airmail.
There you go.
Huh?
The airmail section of clearing the air here with the after airs.
That was a damn good one, y'all. Keep them coming. We love getting the emails. I'll also go back and respond to them individually, but we'll definitely read them on here. We appreciate you listening to the show. We appreciate you telling your friends. That's another thing you can help us with by not only subscribing and downloading and rating it 5 stars. If everyone out there that listens to this show, you've got a friend. Well, when you're friends with somebody, that usually means you've got a lot in common and you share some of the same sensibilities, which is reason to believe that they too would like this show. So if everyone out there recommended this show to just one person, boom, we have doubled our listenership. And then we'll start doing it pyramid scheme style from then on.
There you go. Make a hit.
All right. Love y'all. See you next time.
Say goodbye.
Skew.